Hey, everybody.
Hey y'all. So today's gonna be a lot different because number one, we're normally at 3, and number two, we're normally on Sundays. And what was I on? 2 or 3. And number three, we normally have a guest.
So this week, last week the guests said they wanted to reschedule, and then so we decided on today. And then yesterday, because we didn't have an interview, we were at the Renaissance Fair, and there is no reception at all. So she asked if I could change the link to be today, Monday, instead of yesterday. Even though we agreed on yesterday, I think it confused her because the other one still sent to her because I didn't cancel it. And then, so I think that was the confusion. But anyway, so here we are. Um, it was a busy weekend, and um, there's like a gnat on my face. Uh, so yeah, it's all good. I have these on me because of the Renaissance Festival. We had ones on our eyes. It's
Yeah,
still
I still have
a little bit's on her eyes
personal.
still.
Yeah. And I did
Um,
green makeup and everything because I was a fairy.
She was a fairy. We had
Yeah.
fun. We had a great time. Saturday we went to
Six
Six Flags, and then
We're going all over the world.
yesterday we went to the Renaissance Fair, and I won those tickets. So thank you to Q997. That's how I won the tickets. Um, and so we had fun. We met up with my friend yesterday, and on Saturday we brought her friend to Six Flags. But anyway, so we've just been busy, and if you can't tell, I'm a little tired. Um, and when I say a little,
I know.
a lot tired. It's okay. I'm blessed and grateful. Um, I don't know if I talked about it. My friend, I don't know if she's still in the ICU because she's doing better. My friend was in the ICU, and now she's doing better, and I'm really grateful for that. So if everybody could continue to pray for her, that would be great. So Mckenna had the idea because we were just gonna not do the show, and we already didn't tell people it wasn't yesterday. So I'm so sorry. It's because we had no reception at all where we were, which was weird because it was outside. So I didn't get that part, but oh, so sorry. So McKenna wants to play her instrument, and she plays two instruments.
I play the clarinet and the viola.
One she taught herself, which is the viola. She's gonna take it in school, but she taught herself it as she was trying to get caught up because she didn't play sixth grade. She's gonna play seventh and beyond. So, anyways, the clarinet. She wants to play a song for you. I don't know. We're just like going with the flow. So I don't. Oh, there she is. Yay! Never mind, guys. You can stay
Big
live for goodness
night.
sake.
I'm
Hey,
so sorry. I didn't see any of your updates until just now. Nothing else came through. I'm so sorry about that.
it's okay. We were just doing our own thing. She was gonna play a song on her clarinet.
All right. Sounds fun.
All
All
right.
right.
So hello. Usually we don't start
Hi.
off live like this, but
No,
welcome.
this
Sorry about the
just
confusion.
makes it more like regular life, right?
I know. Yeah. So yesterday we were at the Renaissance Fair, and literally there was no reception at all, which is weird because it was outside, but no reception. So like I didn't cancel the one. I didn't tell people it wasn't yesterday. I didn't say, yeah, it was a mess. So I'm sorry. It's been very
No.
busy. Um, so anyway, all right. Well,
Let me just turn this light on because I have a weird. Hopefully that's better. Is that better? A little bit better.
yeah.
Okay.
So
All
how do
right.
you pronounce your last name?
Wallenstein.
Okay. So we will introduce you, which is weird because we're already live, but so well, everybody, welcome to Authentic Points of View podcast.
You
And
can't be more authentic than this.
this is so authentic and fun. Now you can still play a song in a little bit because she was excited to play a song. We never do that, but all right.
That could be our closing.
Yeah, you can play. Oh my goodness. You have kids her age, I think. No, yours are 9 and 13 and what? And
9, just turned 9, 11, and 13.
okay, she's
So
11, she's turning 12, so you get
okay,
it.
yes, in 6th grade. Yes.
So, yeah, she's going into 7th now. She's turning
Yep.
12 in on June. Anyway, so this is Stacy Wallenstein,
Hello.
and she is awesome. She's a blogger and content creator, and she's based in New York, and that's really cool. Welcome to the show,
Thank
Stacy.
you. Thank you.
Baby.
And where are you guys based?
Georgia.
Ah, where about?
So kind of close to Atlanta, like maybe 20, 30 minutes from Atlanta.
Okay, my husband's best friend lives just outside Atlanta as well. I love it.
Oh, maybe in what town do you know?
Oh, I
It's probably
don't.
so we live in Ackworth.
And where?
Ackworth,
Okay.
but it's like close to Marietta and Woodstock and all that stuff.
I will tell you in 1 second. I'm going to look up his address. Cumming.
Okay, my friend lives in Cumming. That's a little bit further from us. That's like north, I think.
Okay.
But that's really cool. So, okay, well, hello. This is Mckenna.
Hi.
She, like I said, she's turning 12, and we've been trying to do as many things as we can this summer, huh? So we'll talk to you about stuff. Ironically, her and I have never been to New York, and like the state or the city or anything.
Okay.
That will be fun to like hear really cool things about it. So what do you live New York State or like Manhattan or like I know it's all a state, but you know what I mean, the city or like.
So we live on Long Island, and we lived in Manhattan for 13 years. And then when my daughter was about to turn 4 and I was pregnant with my second, we decided to move out to the suburbs and moved out here. So we are about 40 minutes, 45 minutes outside of Manhattan. So where we live is considered a commuting area, much like, I don't know if where you are is like commuting into Atlanta.
Yeah.
So we live in like a suburb of Manhattan. And so we have trains that go into Manhattan. So Long Island consists of Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk counties. And so Brooklyn and Queens are considered part of New York City. They're 2 of the 5 boroughs. Manhattan's another one, Bronx and Staten Island. And Long Island is kind of just, if you keep going east from Queens, you hit Nassau and then Suffolk. If you've heard of the Hamptons or Montauk, that is all the way on the eastern end of Long Island. So I am smack in the middle, smack in the middle. I am between east and west, north and south.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yes. So we are about 45 minutes from Manhattan. We're about an hour and a half from the East End, where it's like, just the end of the island and you could see water in all directions. And north of us is Connecticut. South of us is a beautiful beach. We're about 20 minutes from the beach. So it's a really nice place to live. Expensive, but you get what you pay for type thing.
Very expensive. We actually, I thought about living there because I, I'm very silly. I've always wanted to be on Saturday Night Live.
Okay, sure.
So
Haven't we all?
so I was like, I want to live there. Plus, like Broadway and all that stuff. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to go to like New York City 3 times, and I didn't go. And one time, my class was on the Today Show. It was my senior year, and I was all my senior year. And then I was thought I was grown, so I didn't live with my parents when I was a senior. I had a full-time job. I was going to high school still, and it was a lot. But so basically, I chose to leave my household, so then I would have had to pay for everything, but I just didn't go. And then the next year, so that was in the year 2000. Then the next year, we all know what happened, and so that was something like I don't believe I should regret things. I don't regret it, but like that's something that I look back on and was like, wow, that's But what happened? 2001. You know what happened? 9/11.
Oh.
Yeah, that was in 2001. This gnat is not going everywhere. Yeah, so that's what happened. But my mom used to go and take like cookies and stuff for the firefighters, and because we lived in Maryland, so like literally she would drive like an hour and a half or whatever it was just to go into the city. It wasn't far. Um,
Mhm.
but I have a question.
Yeah,
Why
of
do
course.
you call yourself the mint chip mama?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just getting some more lighting because for some reason there's such a weird shadow on me at this time. So as you can imagine, there we go. Now I look. Oh, okay. So my favorite ice cream is mint chip. And
Yeah,
every year on my birthday, I like a mint chip cake from Baskin Robbins with chocolate cake on the bottom, crunchies in the middle, and mint chip ice cream on top. And so, funny enough, the name is so catchy that it's like a conversation starter everywhere I go. So every time I go to events, or it's just so many people like mint chip ice cream, and it's funny because it's very polarizing. It's kind of like cilantro in the sense that you love it or you hate it. Either somebody thinks that it like tastes amazing or it tastes like toothpaste. So kind of like cilantro, some people think they love it and some people think it tastes like soap.
yeah.
So when I was trying to figure out what to call myself, I wanted something to represent being a mom blogger, but I also kind of wanted to represent something of myself. And so I kind of came up with it. And it's funny because I've been blogging for 10 years and a lot of the other people that I started with, have evolved to things much like 10 years of your kid's life is a long time and your kids aren't babies anymore. And so the name for me, at least, is still relevant. Whereas I think that some of my other mommy blogger type people, their names, are more pigeonholed into just being about being a mom of babies or young kids or something like that. So I'm really happy with it. And I still feel like it represents me and I still like mint chip ice cream. So yeah, it's pretty good.
That's awesome. I love it too, and I also love cilantro, so that's funny.
See? Yeah.
You like mint chip too, don't you? Yeah. So
What?
usually we have questions, but we don't.
Okay.
What
Okay.
motivated her to start her blog?
Oh.
Go ahead.
What motivated you to start a blog?
So I was living in Manhattan, as I said, when I was pregnant with my daughter, who was my first, and this was about 2009. And something that's really cool about Manhattan is there's lots and lots of events going on all the time, every day about everything. So when I was pregnant, I started going to all these really fun events, and I just kind of became really friendly with all these different people that were pregnant women, women that had young babies, women that wanted to get pregnant, new moms, moms with toddlers, all these different aged moms in this really amazing community. And some of them were writers. And so I started writing for some of them on their websites. And then I started writing a little bit for some other outlets. And then when I moved here, when my middle son was 3 months old, I wanted to kind of put all of those different things together. So I loved writing about the events, doing the product reviews, having fun boxes sent to me to review. But I also really love like the thought pieces, like, writing about my feelings and writing about what being a mom was like, writing about, different inspirations for things. So while my son was napping, I decided to launch this blog, and it's been 10 years, which I cannot believe. And of course, it's, evolved into the content channels as well. So a lot of stuff on Instagram. And really just kind of, it's always been about being authentic and organic and what was in front of me. So when it started, I had a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old, and now I have a 9-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 15-year-old. So what started talking about toys is now talking about perimenopause, and all kinds of things, Broadway shows, whatever we're doing as a family with kids those ages. And really the people that are part of my community, their kids have grown with my kids. So they're also, now parents of older kids that are doing other things besides, talking about toys and classes and stuff like that.
Oh, I love that. And since you brought up perimenopause,
Mm-hmm. Always popular. Yep.
so I'm gonna say it. Don't get mad. So anytime I'm hot, and I found out I have POTS and different diagnoses, and so I get overheated very easily.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be hormones as well. Who knows? But anytime I would get hot, and then I would be cold, this one would go menopause. And then, it's funny. It's okay.
So it's funny that it's not funny, and all this stuff is funny but not funny, because it just
Yeah,
seems like
it's
everyone
not
between
funny,
the
but
age of 35 and 50. No, I'm
yeah,
saying, like, we all laugh because we're like, we're going mad. Everything that's happening to us, nobody
yeah,
can see this, but everything inside of me is going upside down, left and right, and bonkers. And it's like, what the symptoms were today are a 180 of tomorrow and a 180 of the next day, and I'm going crazy and my head's spinning around and it's going to fall off, but somebody help me. Oh, I'm a woman, nobody cares about my health. Right.
yeah,
So it's just, I think it's something that's so interesting. And I've had to be a very strong advocate for myself with my doctor, because I think that the whole concept of perimenopause for this group of women that are somewhere floating around their mid 40s, early 40s, uh, we really need to be very loud about the fact that we're having actual symptoms and they're not just in our minds. And we need to educate ourselves and spread the word so it kind of trickles down to our sisters who are not as strong advocates for themselves, because it's just really interesting that there's so many things that you can do about something that's so completely out of your control. And I think that the medical community is just starting to learn how to deal with us. I think that they've doled out Band-Aid medication for a long time because there hasn't been the research and the information, and it's just starting to really pick up. So it's frustrating because it's really completely out of our control, but there's little things we can do, at least, that there's some studies that show. Uh, but it's just one of those things that's just a constant struggle every day. I always say it's the bookends of like puberty and perimenopause, the two P's, right?
yeah, absolutely. Do you have a question?
You can ask me.
I did just ask one about perimenopause.
No, you said that I said it.
Ay, ay, ay. Sorry, we're so organized today. It's great. This is very authentic all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, you want me to ask a question? Sure. All right, I have a question. So when you say there's certain things that we can do, and I am
Yeah.
also we, I am
Yeah.
with you.
Yes.
What are small things that women can do if they're experiencing perimenopause to make it maybe the symptoms easier or
Sure.
something? I don't know.
So I'm just going to preface it by, in no means am I a doctor or a medical professional, and this is all anecdotal and from my own research, what I've been doing for myself that I have found to either be helpful or a placebo or somewhere in between. Um, I mean, exercise, number one, is something that I'm not a fan of, that I've really started leaning into. I mean, I try to walk every day 3 miles a day anyway. I think that if you meet like a girlfriend for a walk in the morning, first thing before you have to start working, it's a really nice way to get the exercise, get fresh air, get some socialization, get some stress relief, build your muscles. I think that's the best thing on earth you could do. It costs nothing. That's one of my favorite things to do. I think that that is one of the things that kind of started at a time when we weren't really socializing indoors with people, and it was a safe way to see people, and kind of evolved into something that's become so sacred, because I really love hanging out with my friends, and I get my kids on the bus, I go for a walk for an hour, I sit down and do my work, but like my day has already started and I can check that off. I feel like very often if you try to wait till the end of the day to exercise, 110 things come up that gets in your way. So I like to just get it out of my way. I've learned a lot about squats, and that squats is important for strengthening your pelvic floor. So I try to do 10 sets of 3 different types of squats at least once a day. So I have my feet together and I do down 10 times, then 11s and I go down 10 times, and then out like a sumo wrestler and I go down 10 times. So that's really good. Obviously, your pelvic floor you need to strengthen so you don't have sneezing or laughing or jumping up and down incidents. um, and I think that's also something that's kind of funny, not funny to talk about, that like most women who have given birth or just get to a certain age have little escapes sometimes when they laugh or jump and sneeze. And I feel like it's one of those things that there's a stigma associated with it, but it happens to everyone. So it's not really that much of a secret. And so I've learned, and from doing squats and from exercising, I think that I've helped that. So that's nice. Um, I have been on a podcast called Period Besties, which are these two really awesome women, and they have taught me a lot of things about eating better. So I was intermittent fasting, and they told me that I should be eating like within an hour of when I'm waking up and starting the day with high protein. So I now eat the full fat Greek yogurt from Trader Joe's. And then they taught me about something called seed cycling, which is eating 4 different seeds, 2 and 2 at the first half of your cycle and then the second half of your cycle. And
Oh,
there's research that shows that different and it's seeds, so it's like pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, what's the other ones? Did I say it's sunflower, pumpkin, sesame, and I always forget the other one, flax seeds, I think. And then you're supposed to I actually really enjoy all the seeds at this point. And then my dad told me to eat hemp seeds also. So in the morning, I do like a scoop of each of the seeds and then a little bit of protein powder in the Greek yogurt. And then I mix it all up and I eat that with some granola. But the whole idea is like our body needs protein. So, like, I'm trying to eat as much protein as I can and starting my day with more protein to help level out my blood sugar so I don't go cuckoo bananas at any point throughout the day when my blood sugar drips. Another really big thing, and this again is just me personally after all of my own personal research about myself, not medical information, but I've been tracking my cycle to see when it dips, and it dips in line with when certain hormones, ebb and flow throughout your cycle. And so after a big struggle, I finally got my doctor to put me on progesterone, which I think has been helping me. And so I start taking that on day 14 of my cycle for 10 days. And I think that that's something I've just finished my 4th month of it. And I think that's something that's really helpful. I know very often medical professionals don't like to prescribe hormone replacement therapy until women are in menopause. But there's this whole kind of like group of floaters that we're kind of knocking on the door, but we're not really in the zone to be getting the treatment or the attention. And we really have to be standing up for ourselves to make it known that we need help and we don't need an SSRI and we don't need birth control, or maybe we do. I'm not making judgments, but I think that it's important to track yourself to see what symptoms you have when you have them, to kind of have the data and the information to go to your doctor and say, I have the numbers, I did the research, and I think that I need some help and I want to see what your opinion is. I've also been doing some research about like gut health and how it's important to be having probiotics and all of this stuff. It's so interesting how there's so much information out there, and whether it works or not, I can't tell you, but at least if you feel like you're doing something and you have some sort of control that you're helping yourself instead of just like, hoping you feel better, it's I don't know. I know, McKenna, not very exciting stuff. You want to ask me some exciting questions? You can ask whatever you'd like.
she likes beauty. She blogs about beauty. Ask her about fashion in New York. You like fashion?
How do I?
Okay. So here, I'll answer your question broadly. So when I got out of college, I worked for a little bit in the financial industry and I didn't love it. I really wanted to get into cosmetics. So I also really thought I wanted to be a psychologist. I was kind of in between those two spots. So I went back to grad school and I got a degree in psychology. And then I also started volunteering with an organization that does a lot of stuff with cosmetic companies. And I ended up applying when I was finishing up my degree to a company called Chanel. Have you heard of Chanel? Yep.
Oh,
So I worked there for a couple of years, which was really fun. And I helped do all their customer service. So when a customer called and had a question about something or had a problem with a product or wanted to know where they could find something, they called in and spoke to me. So I worked in a really, really cool, really big French fashion company. And then I'll tell you how old I am, that when I was there, we didn't sell anything online yet. And then we launched selling on Chanel.com while I was there in the early 2000s. So that dates me, the beginning of e-commerce. And that was really cool. And then after Chanel, I worked at another French company called Christian Dior. And that was really cool. And so both of those are really big French fashion houses. And so they have super duper fancy fashion called haute couture, which is like the women would come in and have something custom made for them, to be perfect on their size. Then they have something called ready to wear, which is clothing that was made and sized different sizes. And then they sold all kinds of handbags and scarves and jewelry and makeup and any kind of thing that you can think of that was really fun. And so the stuff is really, really expensive. But because I was an employee at both companies, they would have employee sales and we would get stuff discounted, which was really cool. Really fancy shoes, really nice shoes that I don't ever wear now because they have big heels. And now I just don't wear shoes because I work from home. Yeah, so that was cool. But New York is a really cool place, and the history with New York. So a lot of immigrants, when they moved to New York at the turn of the century, went into the garment district, and that's in like the 30s, right by where the train comes out when we take the train from Long Island in. And so there are a couple of really cool statues there when you're walking around in the area. So there's a big sculpture of a man with a sewing machine, and he's sewing. And that's kind of an homage to the fact that that area was where a lot of people like created clothing. And then next to it is a very big sculpture of a needle and thread through a yellow button. And it's also to show like that people would like sew buttons on and do stuff. And it's such a cool place for fashion. And you can still walk on Fifth Avenue and 57th Street and see all these big stores that have window decorations and big department stores that for the holidays decorate them really cool. It's super fun. Coming to Manhattan when it's the holidays is really fun because not only do you get to see the big tree in Rockefeller Center, but one of my favorite things is to look at all the way that the stores on Fifth Avenue decorate their windows, and it's just amazing.
Aw,
Hmm.
that is cool. We were supposed to, our first time going to New York was supposed to happen a few years ago, and COVID had just happened, but it was like a year. I was 21, I think. So
Okay.
2021. So we we purposely avoided it because, and then we were getting a puppy. Long story, but
Yeah,
we didn't want to take the puppy from Georgia to there because that would have been
yeah,
a
of
big
course.
difference in the wintertime. And then also, we didn't want to leave the puppy in a
Yeah.
hotel. We ended up going to Tennessee and staying on a farm, which was cool.
Oh,
But the funny thing is, the numbers were going up in New York. So I was like, we don't want to get COVID. And we all got COVID from going to Tennessee instead of New York. And you didn't get it? Oh, yeah, just me and my ex got it. I guess you didn't get it. You didn't get sick. Good for you. But anyway, so we wore masks too. I don't know. Anyway, but I also am a nurse, so I'm
oh, there you go.
yeah, and I had a photography studio, so like I was
Oh,
around
wow.
a lot of people.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what's interesting is COVID in Manhattan. So we moved out of Manhattan before that happened. We moved here in 2014 and we, sheltered in place quite carefully. And just, after a certain time, you're starting to go crazy and stir crazy. And so because we're so close to Manhattan, and I mean 40 minutes is it can be a little less if there's no traffic. And at that point, during different times, there were no people on the roads. So one of the days we were so bored, we just got into our car and we said, let's just drive into the city and drive around and not get out of the car, but just like go there to like go somewhere because, at least if you take 40 minutes each way and then drive around, it's hours of something to do for a day when you're bored out of your mind, right?
Yeah.
So we drove around and it was so interesting because it was like a ghost town. And after living in Manhattan for 13 years, it really was only a ghost town on like Thanksgiving morning because everyone left and it was really quiet. But like after an hour, it was like buzzing, but the city is always buzzing, buzzing, buzzing. And so it was very interesting living there to have these few days where it was quiet. But when we drove in, it was like a ghost town and there was nobody on the streets. There was nobody outside. There was nobody in stores. Everything was boarded up. And it was like a post-apocalyptic like drive. It was crazy. It was also it was crazy, but also really cool to see because it was so crazy. And it was like one of those really weird like dichotomies almost. But when we drove past, so on the corner of 57th and 5th is a big Louis Vuitton store. And they had painted, remember when everyone was painting rainbows on everything?
Yeah.
So they had painted this big, I mean, the store is like multiple stories high, and they painted this big rainbow across like the whole store, and it's like on a corner. So it like started on one corner and went to the other corner, and
Oh,
that was really cool. And then just driving all around the city, like there were some stores that were boarded up and they had rainbows painted everywhere, but it was like, it was crazy. It was very, very crazy at that time. But yeah.
okay. So, so sorry. She's tired and she's usually like bubbly, but
That's okay. You know what? My kids are home at this point, so we don't have to go a long time. We could stop whenever you guys are ready.
no, we'll wrap it up in a couple of questions. I have a question about, if you don't mind answering this
Yeah.
question. So I was trying to do the math in my head. So if it was 2014 and you lived there for 13 years,
Mhm.
were you were there during the September 11th, like you were there?
So the answer is yes and no. So I graduated college in 2000. I'm 47. I moved into Manhattan December of 2000. In August of 2001, a friend of mine said, "Do you want to go backpacking around Asia?" And I said, "Okay."
Uh,
So I met my husband on August 11th, 2001. On August 10th, August 10th. Ooh, I said August 10th. August 10th, 2001. 1 week later, I went backpacking in Asia for a month. I was in Vietnam when 9/11 happened. And
wow.
because the AM PM is switched there, Asia's 12 hours ahead. And this was before cell phones, before smartphones. You had to go to an internet cafe. You had to go into a hotel that had a television. So we had no idea it happened. And then we woke up on September 11th, where we were. I don't know if maybe we're ahead or behind. I guess it's ahead, right? Is Asia ahead or behind?
Mm,
Behind.
so they're far east or far west? Far
Yeah,
east, right?
far east, right?
Yeah, so they would be, because we're in the east, and so we're ahead of the west, right? Our time is, I don't know.
I think they're right, whatever it is. So we were sleeping when it all happened. And then we had no idea. And then when we woke up, we were supposed to be waking up and then going on a flight from one city in Vietnam to another city in Vietnam. And my friend said, I have to go get money. So he went to the ATM and somebody said to him, "Are you American? I'm really sorry." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And that's how we found out. And he ran
Oh,
back to the room and was like, "Put the TV on, put the TV on." And we put the TV on and saw all the images from 12 hours ago. And we didn't know. I mean, we were like 23. We had no idea what to do. We were two people alone in Vietnam. And so we went to the consulate and we called our parents and we were like, "What are we supposed to do?" And they were like, "Well, there's nothing to do here. You're safe here. Like, whatever. So just get on your flight and go to Ho Chi Minh City or whatever it is." So we got on a flight and we were on a plane on 9/11 going from one city to the other, which was absolutely crazy. And then when we got to the next hotel, it was just insanity. And it was a very frenetic, wild, crazy city where everyone is on motorcycles and it's dirty. And I was like, I'm just signing up to take an excursion like in the country because my head was like spinning. And my mom had called a bunch of my friends that worked down there and, got the clear on everyone. And then a couple of days later, my friend and I separated, and I went to Hong Kong to fly home, and he continued on in Japan. And I was in Hong Kong, and I found out that a friend of mine had died in the towers and was, in fact, one of the people that later, like, you can hear on an HBO special, like, calling and telling what was going on. And yeah, it's just, and he was not even supposed to be there that day. His office was moving, and I think he was there to like help them pack up. And it was just one of those things that it was bizarre. And then, more names came out of people, and it's just, and then I came back and I was living on 23rd and Park Avenue at the time, which is not downtown, but um, close enough to the downtown district that there were still posters everywhere. And so I flew back on September 17th on the first international flight being let into JFK Airport. And at the time I had gone on miles. And so that was my return flight, which I had booked anyway.
Yeah.
And the way that it kind of fell out, I booked myself business class because I had so many miles that I just like treated myself on a long flight to go business class. And it was the upstairs of a plane. And in that plane were all of these men that had been stranded for a week in Asia because they couldn't get home, and through their wives. And again, this was like pre-smartphones. So through their wives, who all lived all over the place, but they somehow knew each other, they were able to connect the husbands, and they were able to find each other in Asia and like hang out for a week. And they were all on this flight with me. And we flew into JFK over downtown Manhattan, and I saw like smoke still coming up from the buildings. So I have pictures that I took from the windows of the flight looking down onto Ground Zero.
Oh, wow.
And it was crazy. And I came back and I didn't want to go back to my apartment. And I came in one day to like do some volunteer work. And I mean, there were just posters everywhere. Have you seen my sister? Do you know where my dad is? Like missing people. And it was just devastating, or whatever word is stronger than devastating. And it's just interesting that I'm such a New Yorker, and the one like biggest thing that ever happened in New York I was not there for, but I was so present even though I wasn't physically there. And interestingly enough, my husband was living in Maryland at the time, and one of his best friends worked in the Pentagon, but I for some reason don't think he was there that day, or not yet in the office that day. But so we both have these stories where we like, you know, lived in places where things happen, but we weren't necessarily there for it. So yeah, it's crazy. I just went to an event last week, and the 9/11 Museum was one of the presenters, and I said to them, I've still never been to the museum because I'm still not ready, even though it was 24 years ago. It feels like it was yesterday. And, you know, when you walk around the city, there's so many firehouses, and they all have plaques outside for people that were sent down there and never came back. And it's just, it's such a thing that happened in our lifetime. And it's crazy when we look at the next generation that it's just like, to them, it's like, you know, when JFK got shot, and our parents think it was such a big thing. And we're like, all right, you know, so it's ever present.
Yeah, well, I'm so sorry for your losses.
Thank you.
And I was in Maryland, and so I was at a bank actually working, and we looked up at the TV and we were in shock. And then we saw the second, like we saw the second. We were watching as live as it hit, and at the bank, and we all didn't even know what to do. But my dad was 2 days before. He is a it's so funny. I didn't know what my dad's real job was. But my dad was in the Pentagon 2 days before. And he had clearance to the White, like he had clearance everywhere, but he was in the Pentagon 2 days before the attack happened there. Well, it landed on there. And it was crazy. My friend I met, ironic, crazy, like how things happen and how you meet people. In Ohio, I met her, and her father, she was in New York, lived in New York all her life until basically that point. We were in our 20s. And her father was one of the firefighters that lost his life.
Wow.
Yeah. And so every September 11th, I think of her.
Yeah.
She was she's younger than me actually, so she was pretty young. I was 19 maybe. Yeah, that was 19. No, I wasn't even 19 yet. I was still 18. I was turning 19 that year. And but she was younger, and so anyway, so I'm sorry for your losses, and anybody that's watching that has been affected by those horrible attacks. I'm so sorry for you guys. I can't imagine. That went on a sad turn. I'm sorry. Question. I want to ask if she would, what she would tell me. Your head hurts? Okay. You want me to ask it? Okay, her head hurts. I'm sorry. What would you tell your 13-year-old self if you could go back and talk to her?
Don't get bangs.
You're very funny. I like you. You're funny.
Thank you. So I laugh because I have a 15-year-old daughter now, and her and all of her friends are gorgeous and have beautiful hair and perfect makeup and, are all fit and in shape. And I look at them when they go out to parties together, and I think to myself of when I was that age and it was the 90s. I had horrible permed hair and terrible bangs.
Yeah.
These girls now are gorgeous. We did not look like that in the 90s. So, yeah.
I had that too. I had the perm and the bangs and the one of my school pictures. I looked like, well, it was probably like shorter than, and I looked like a big old
Yep.
poodle, but
Yep. Yeah. But even thinking like the tools that they have now, and like I never used product in my hair. We had like mousse or hairspray, and I don't think I used either of those. And now there's like 9,000 different things you can put in your hair to make it look perfect. It's very
Yeah,
funny.
that's funny.
McKenna, are you a fan of Sephora? Do you like to go to Sephora? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't get anything, but I just like looking.
You have gotten
Yeah.
some. You haven't.
No.
So my daughter uses her own money when she goes shopping there. So that's like when she has her birthday money or her holiday money, that's when she goes and buys stuff. She also has a job now, or a couple of jobs actually. So
Aw.
when she wants any of those fun things, she uses her own money to buy them.
What kind of couple of jobs? Now I'm just curious.
So she works at an acai bowl place, which
Oh, nice.
is very fun. She makes acai bowls and smoothies and coffee drinks, and she loves it. She also babysits. She started that when she was 13, and or maybe even a little younger. She also helps kind of ref this little like sports program that we have. So she's like one of the teenagers that stands around and says to the kids, like, keep running. And then she tutors also. So she's a really, really good student. And yeah, she's a very active kid. And she's also a straight A student. She works really hard. She's great. Yeah.
That's so awesome. I think that's how McKenna is going to be. She is into everything as well, and she helps. And
Is that just on the website?
yeah, that's the website. You can put it up there. Sorry, we're talking to each
Okay.
other. But anyway, so I will put a space in it. Okay, very good. Sorry, we're adding your stuff.
Thank you.
But you're welcome. But anyway, yeah. So I think it's funny how things have evolved as well. Even if you look back, like you said, like our parents in the 60s, 70s, how they used to dress and things they used to do, and they're like, "What in the world?" But it's just how it happens. So what is your blog called? The Mint Chip Mama? Okay,
Yes.
great.
So the blog is called The Mint Chip Mama.
Okay.
And I really talk a lot about family, parenting, travel, lifestyle, food, beauty, and recently, like I said, women's health, a lot about perimenopause. And it's always been what's in front of me. So, like I said, when my kids were younger, it was about toys and amusement parks. And now it's about, going to see Broadway shows and going to cool experiences and, still amusement parks.
Yep.
But yeah, all kinds of fun stuff and going on hikes. We like to be outside a lot. Baseball, softball, really big right now.
That's awesome. So can they find you at the website? Is that where your blog is? Or
Yep. So the blog is at themintchipmama.com. And then I'm at the Mint Chip Mama across all socials. Instagram, the Mint Chip Mama, YouTube, the Mint Chip Mama, TikTok, the Mint Chip Mama, Facebook, the Mint Chip Mama. But I'm really the most active on Instagram. So please follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to build up my YouTube. So follow me on YouTube also. And yeah, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And just, I guess the only other thing I'd say is similar to what we were saying about perimenopause, you have to advocate for yourself and do your research. I'm just kind of making a point to say in all the podcasts that I'm going on that we are living in a crazy world right now, and I'm not going to get political. But before you repeat anything, I would like to ask your audience to do their own research and to make sure they know what they're saying before they say anything. Because I think a lot of people right now are repeating a lot of things that are causing a lot of problems without knowing what they're saying. So I would just like to tell everyone that they can only control themselves and they have the power of saying something or not. And just please do your research and don't spread misinformation, especially if you don't know what you're saying when you say it. And I say, just like if your kid says something on the playground and you get a call from the teacher and the kid says, I had no idea what I was saying, I didn't mean to hurt their feelings. Adults need to learn that lesson as well.
yeah, that's great advice. Thank you very much. And I have a situation that I was going to tell people information, but I didn't find out the information for myself. My friends actually, I don't know if she's in the ICU anymore, but
Oh, wow.
she had a, I'm not going to tell her business, but it was a situation that was very tragic. And so the first time I gave information, I went and saw her myself. Now I've heard really good information, but then I got misinformation. So one person said she was still intubated, then somebody said she was extubated. I was like, wait a minute, I heard that's a big difference. There's a tube or not a tube, right? And so and I almost said that she was extubated. Thank goodness I didn't on this group text thing. And then I wanted to clarify. So then I clarified with the person that actually physically went there. And thank goodness I didn't spread false information. And that's what I told everybody. And at that point, I said, I'm not going to update unless somebody asks me. And I'm just going to say, so and so said, and this is what I heard. I don't know for sure. Because it's somebody's life. And I don't want to say the wrong thing. And, hopefully tomorrow I get to physically go there again. And then I can say what I saw. But that's great advice because you can start like literally fights because you think you just know something that you don't know, or like you said, if you don't look up the information yourself, that can be, even if you don't mean harm, it could cause harm. So
Absolutely. And look it up at a reputable source and making sure that it's a neutral or educated place. But I think that right now is what the world needs to hear. And if you don't know what you're saying, just be quiet. No one wants to hear your opinion, so don't share it, especially if you don't know what you're saying.
That's right. You don't need to say something. You can just zip it.
If you need to talk to someone, get a beautiful house plan and tell them everything that you think in your mind.
A beautiful house. That's so cute that it has to be beautiful. Well, we'll finish up, but I just want to say that's the danger with AI is that I like AI because I'm designing stuff with it, but sometimes there'll be this even fake posters for movies that aren't happening or something like that. And if you don't know, you'll just assume, or they'll say so and so passed away, and I cannot stand that. And they'll be like, oh, beloved actor so and so passed away, and then I look it up and then go, no, they didn't. Hello, kids. Is that one of your kids?
One of my kids.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Sorry for the chaotic craziness.
No problem, and thank you for being flexible because we ended up having a baseball and softball game yesterday, so I wasn't. These games just keep popping up, and then everything has to be changed about them. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
How did they do? Did they do well?
One well, one not well.
Okay, that's okay. Hey,
I mean, I should say they played well. Their teams one did not. So
okay, got it. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You so much. Sorry.
So do you know what this is airing now, or does this?
Yeah, this is live, and then I'm behind, so it will go on. And I don't usually say this on the air, but why not? It will go on everywhere, but I'm very behind on a lot of episodes because a lot is going on. So eventually, it will be on like Spotify and all that as audio, Google, all that stuff, wherever you can look up your podcast, and then it'll be on YouTube as well, where you can replay it, and I can send it to you once I get caught up with everything.
Perfect. And if you do any type of like reel on Instagram, feel free to invite me to be a collaborator, and I'll accept.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Speak to you soon. Take care.
Right,
bye.
Bye. All right. So next week we'll be on at 3 p.m. on Sunday unless something changes. Thanks, guys. Do you want to play the song?
Oh, no, it's okay.
Are you sure? Because we're still live.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Play the song.
No, I'm fine. I don't know. It takes way too long.
Okay.
Have a good day, y'all.
Have a good day. Bye, guys.